Shields up, Iron Breakers, Hunters, and Warriors of Light, and you're listening to the Third Fleet Podcast. Ruri managed to rip the controller out of my hand and get me to stop playing Final Fantasy and talk some Monster Hunter. This is episode 56, and Rurikhan, it's nice to be back in the virtual podcast booth. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I mean, I just drank a tea that was supposed to help me with my fatigue, but instead it just made me a little bit drowsier, so that was kind of weird. But talking about 56, that was a nice little 56 weeks that you gave to me I don't even think it was the last podcast, it was a couple of podcasts ago. I've been getting comments on that 56 weeks a year for God knows how long, and I want to make sure that everybody understands. I asked Gaijin, How many weeks are in a year, Gaijin? Is it 56? And he's like, yep, it's 56. So because
No, you didn't ask me if it was 56. You said how many, and I just said no, it's 56.
Okay, then there you go. Like I
I'm
wasn't sure.
I've been saying there's been 56 my entire life. I never stopped to do the simple math and go, oh wait, that would be too many weeks. So maybe I have an extra month than all of y'all.
What do you mean simple math? I just straight up Googled it. It's just like, how many weeks are in a year? And Google says 52.1 point something. I was like, what? It's like,
he lied to me.
It's not even 53. It's 52 and change. It's 52 weeks and change.
Well, if you think that it's 56 and then it ends at 52, you feel like you kind of, saved a little, right? It's like, hey,
yeah,
4 weeks I didn't have to wait for something to come out,
But it was funny.
It's copium for releases that are coming later on in the following year.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny because this is episode 56 and it just reminded me of that one time that I said, 56 weeks in a year.
You know what it is? It's probably something so stupid that as a kid, there's 356.25 days in a year, right? And I probably just thought 356. Okay, there's 56 weeks. 356
or 65?
Oh my God, do I have that wrong? Oh wait, no, 365, you're right. Oh my God.
There's just something wrong with the number 56 in your head.
56 is in my head. I don't know.
I'm gonna double check now. I don't believe this anymore. How many days in a year? Google says 365. I was correct. See, I was right the whole time. When I asked you, I thought it was 52 and you said 56. See, guys, I was right the whole time. It was Gaijin's fault. Gaijin,
I don't come from this dimension, so multiverse, man. I'm from another bubble.
Yeah, you're in the world of the Spider-Verse. You're from a different bubble, but
exactly.
Yeah, it's been there hasn't really been a whole lot happening in Monster Hunter, and Gaijin has been grossly addicted to 14. We'll probably talk a little bit about that today. We meant to talk about it last time, but we got so deep into some of these Monster Hunter topics that we never got around to it. But yeah.
Talk about deep. You are deep in Monster Hunter Rise. It's like we swap positions. You give me the infectious disease of FF, and all of a sudden you're back on Monster Hunter. It's like we swapped roles.
Yeah, because after I did everything that there was to do on the Switch version, which now I haven't, because since then we've had the USJ event that came out and Apex.
You did everything on the Switch version?
What do you mean?
You did the ultimate All Mother challenge?
The ultimate. Listen, actually, I'll tell you what about All Mother. All right, I don't like that fight. I don't like that fight, and let me tell you why. It's like I've mentioned it multiple times, but it's just because I've been trying different aspects of the gunlets. It's like, look, that fight is just bad for gunlets. There's just no way to just sugarcoat it. It's just a bad fight for gun. It's a terrible fight for gunlets. It's completely bad. Doesn't matter what build you take. Doesn't matter what you do. You're
egging me on. Now I'm thinking of doing the All Mother challenge with the gunlance just to prove you wrong.
Dude, go for it. Good luck, because dealing with a naked character and the sharpness issues of the gun lance, you're going to be spending a lot of time going like, let me just sharpen my gun lance every 30 seconds because I had the full burst. Good luck with that. Have fun, Gaijin.
No, maybe I won't. Now that you say it.
It's just, dude, I've played so many different styles of gun lance, and it's not like you can't do it. You can.
Yeah,
but
we know that it's not fun. Secretly main the longsword, so why don't you use that?
Yeah, sure. I'll just go longsword. No, but it's just
parading as a Gunlance user, but we know what you actually use. We've seen your guild card.
Yeah,
it's alt account you're showing us.
In the last stream that I did where I was playing Gunlance, I once again went back to Slaplance for All Mother because it just makes me sad, but it is what it is. It's like Slaplance is the way to do All Mother, and
you do realize that like one of the most satisfying weapons to use against All Mother is a sword and shield. And
yeah, I know
you play it, so I don't know why you don't. You should try it. It's fun.
Because I like playing the Gunlance more. Gunlance is my weapon, and I just wish that I could use it properly on All Mothers. Like, ugh. Anyway, did you know that on the 28th of January, it was the 4th anniversary of Monster Hunter World?
Yeah,
dude, it's been 4 years already.
4 years, time flies.
Dude, it's crazy. Like, I'm going to be 40 this year. I was 36 when... No, actually, I was like 35. I was going to be 36 that year. But it's like, I was going to be 36 the year that Monster Hunter came out, dude. It's almost like the music yesterday. All my troubles seem so far away.
Wow, this is a special episode. You're serenading me with song.
Now it looks as though they.
Well, I just turned 41, and I can tell you that 41 and 40, it's the same old thing. Your body's breaking. You're used to it.
I don't feel any different than I did 4 years ago.
Exactly.
Other than the ridiculous amount of hype for the unknown that was World. That was so much fun. Such a fantastic journey, right? So I checked what the sales figures were looking like. World is sitting pretty on 20 million copies sold. Damn. 20 million copies sold. Which actually leads me to a talking point that I wanted to ask you and just like discuss about this, which is like, so World sold 20 million copies, but out of those 20 million, only 8.8 million went on to purchase Iceborne. And it kind of makes me want... It kind of
gamers, you disappoint me.
It kind of makes me wonder if that's why most of the industry is moving to a battle pass solution to basically kind of retain as many. Like if you really just think about this, right? It's like, hey, we sold 20 million on the first thing, and what you look at now is most people that have a game that is somewhat like Monster Hunter that has any kind of longevity to it, they capitalize on it through battle passes as opposed to traditional expansions. And some people are going like, why can't they just give me my expansion? And here's why. This is exactly why. Because the initial game sold 20 million and the expansion sold 8. And it's like people are just not buying old school expansions anymore, it feels like, which is very sad. Even though 8 million sales, I'm sure, is very profitable for them for Iceborne. Like, there's no way that's not like a massive profit. But if you think about it, and here's the thing, I'm not advocating for this, but I'm just thinking about it from like, say, an investor standpoint, someone who stands to make money from the game or something like that. Like, if you really look at it, would they sell more battle passes like people were? And I remember people at the time even saying like, oh, I can't wait for the Fireborn expansion, right? Because it was like, here's Iceborne, next expansion's going to be Fireborn. And it's like, that's what people ultimately, they wanted the battle pass thing, I feel like, is like, what if instead of having Iceborne, you had like Monster Hunter World Season 1, Monster Hunter World Season 2, would they have sold more of those? Would that have been more profitable? Because that's kind of like where the industry is headed. I hope not, because I want to keep seeing the ultimate versions. To me, it's much better, and the GRanks is much better than battle passes. But I have seen people in the community kind of like advocate for that. Like they want the battle pass thing for Monster Hunter.
I mean, I'll say that in Japan, like, because I think we're so used to the model here, that when people see Iceborne, they know that it's a new game. It's not just a DLC expansion. I mean, it's both. So, like, when you get someone like the West, where people binge hardcore, they'll play it. They'll once you step away, like, it's really hard to step back into it. It's just how it is. Like, sequels and expansions just don't sell as well. But in Japan, like a really high percentage of people who bought World bought Iceborne. It's usually almost identical. Like if you look at Monster Hunter 4 and 4G, it's like 4 million, 4 million. It's pretty much the exact same numbers usually.
Damn.
You get some people that fall out, but then you also get people who waited specifically for the G version to get in.
G version,
and it always balances out. So they sold. I want to say they sold like almost 2 million of World, but it was almost identical for Iceborne. So Japanese gamers had no problem with purchasing Iceborne as an expansion, but it's just such a weird concept for the West, I guess. Because it does sound like, okay, this is DLC a year later, but it's so much more than that. But then again, they've already paid for all the development period time, all the engine work, all the core work was done on the base game, and they've more than
there's
paid
less
for
investment.
So I would think that 8 million is actually really damn good. So I don't think Capcom's disappointed by that at all. I think, if anything, it's got to be over what they were predicting. Like, that's fantastic. To us, it's like kind of crazy, right? We're like, wait, why would you play the game and not play the final polished, like pristine version and expansion? It doubles the length. Oh my god! But that's actually really good sales.
But it's interesting because in the West there has been the expansion mentality, like at least in old school gaming, there's always been that expansion mentality. Like back when Blizzard used to make good products, like their expansions were awesome. Like you have StarCraft, and you had StarCraft Brood War, you had like all of the expansions to World of Warcraft, which are still going strong to this day. And people do understand the concept of expansion. It just kind of feels like, as consumers, a lot of people have moved away from it. They just want to either experience the next thing, or they just want to stay in one game that just gives them like all of the season passes so that they can play the same game forever, which is...
Yeah, well, I mean, also financials have sucked for a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
People don't have a lot of money to spend, and they're concerned about... I mean, games are more expensive. Of course, us not living in the U.S., we laugh and say, oh, cry me a river. Because we pay $100 a game anyways, and we still don't pay as much as some other countries do, but it's like cost is one thing. So people are like, why am I buying the same game twice? Which I think Iceborne did a good job of solving. They made it an expansion now that you can just buy on top. You didn't have to buy another game, which was good. But also I think that it's oversaturation of the market as well. Like look at how many games there are to choose from and to play these days. There's so many good games that, like, do you really want to go back to something that you played till you're full in the stomach when you have this whole backlog of other amazing games a year later? And only the most, I think, diehard fans, and those are able to, would do that. So, like, I never buy or play the DLC for Dark Souls, but I love Dark Souls 3. I love Bloodborne. I never bought or played the DLC because it was like a year later, and I already moved on.
Well, we have to fix the Bloodborne one at least, man. We got to fix that. I'm not gonna fight as much for Dark Souls 3, and people are gonna hate me.
Why don't they give me a 60 FPS patch on PS5 first, and I'll consider it.
Yeah, that would be good. I was very disappointed when I booted up the PS5 version, because like that was one of the first things that I tested on PS5. Is like,
that's one of the things I did. Yeah.
How do the Souls games play on PS5? And it's like, okay, the remastered's fine, and then the Dark Souls 3, it's like, wow, these visuals, they're okay, sure, but you could have done better than this for sure. But at least it's running somewhat 60, and then you boot up Bloodborne, you're like, wow, hard locked at 30, huh? Who does that? But yeah. I wish they'd fix that, but it's still worth it. Even at 30, it's still worth it to go back to play Old Hunters. Old Hunters is really, really good. We can do it together. Yeah. I'll go with you. We'll do it co-op.
Okay, maybe in a few years when I'm done playing what I'm playing. But it's just weird though. Like some people are like, instead of doing expansions, they should just wait and do it all at once. And I don't think people realize that. And it's not this, they're beta testing us. Like, they release a full game, but there's a lot of learning they do, both in, okay, this really works, let's expand on this. This didn't work, let's not expand on this. And now that we went through all the hard work to get an engine running and everything, now we can let the designers go absolutely crazy and say, guys, have fun. They're no longer building the foundation so they can create things much faster and iterate faster. So you can't speed up the GRank version, otherwise you're going to get an inferior product. So I think a year release afterwards feels good to me.
Yeah, I think
It's
a lot
a
of
marketing challenge.
I think a lot of people don't understand that a lot of the changes that come in the GRank version or the Ultimate version or the Master Rank version, whatever you want to call it, because nowadays just like nomenclatures all over the place. But for people that still don't know, because I know that some people are still confused by this, GRank, the Ultimate version, or Master Rank, this is all the same thing. Okay, it's like the Ultimate version of a certain Monster Hunter title. That does not exist without the feedback that they get from players playing the first one. So the first one is like, here's our vision of what we think this is going to be. And people jump in, and then you get like, because like, if you just have the developers themselves, even just like a QA team testing, right? You're not going to have the same feedback that you have when you have like thousands or even millions of players playing the game. Because they can test, and here's the thing: Monster Hunter games are pretty polished. Like it's not like you're running into it and it's just like straight. Oh, this game's busted, dude. This game's completely destroyed. It sucks, right? That doesn't happen. You go in there and the game just functions. The things that people don't understand is like, oh, these players have figured out a way to like cancel super amped elemental discharge into regular amped elemental discharge and doing that in this situation, and they can spam the monster with KO and doing all these crazy. It's like they can't predict every single possible scenario, right? Like imagine if for whatever reason the aerial build that I was doing for Gunlance was actually better than regular full burst. They might have not predicted that. It's like, what do you mean there's a crazy guy blast dashing and then spamming air shells and somehow that's dealing crazy amounts of damage? What's wrong with you people? I would even argue that some of the things that happened with the Gunlance were probably unintended, like the fact that anti-aquatic species increases shelling damage. The fact that Wyvern exploit increases shelling damage. I highly doubt that was intended. I'm pretty sure that that's just like, oh, oops. That modifier also applied to shelling. Uh-oh. We messed up. It's not even...
You can't imagine like the amount of ideas those developers get in the final year of development once they finally got everything up and running and they can really play around with stuff and they have the bounds. Man, they got so many ideas, and it's like, that's really cool, but guess what? We ain't got time for that. Like, we're not changing, what do they call it? A content lock. We're not changing the content in the game. We're polishing now. And it's like, oh, but this is such a cool idea. It's like, save it for the expansion.
And I guess that it's easy for people to think, oh, they just removed content from the game in order to... No. And here's the thing. The reason why people think that is because we've been tricked in the past by a lot of other publishers where they actually do that stuff, right? Where you actually see them like actually take content away to sell it to you later. But that's, at least to me, I've never gotten that vibe in Monster Hunter because for starters, we get the content for free. They've never asked us for money except for like cosmetics and whatnot, which, in Rise, they went a little bit overboard with that. But it's just, again,
I think they made a good choice though with Iceborne. And I think this is why it sold so well. Because when you say like this is the ultimate version, it sounds like they polished what you already played. They do that a little bit, but it's actually a brand new expansion to the game, right?
Yeah. It's
a higher level difficulty. There's new monsters, new areas, new everything. And I think when you call it like the ultimate edition, it's almost like the Game of the Year edition. It just sounds like, oh, it's the same game but polished. No. It's a full expansion. And people are like, huh? So I think giving it a different name, like giving it like Sunbreak or Iceborne, I think is a really good move.
Yeah.
It's smart.
But if people didn't understand, like, look, you probably get even more time out of an ultimate. But again, I'm just reiterating this, and I know that a lot of people listening to the podcast are going to be like, yeah, we know, but it's like, there's a lot of newcomers to Monster Hunter in the last 4 years. You guys, I don't think you guys understand the amount of new people that have joined the community.
Wow.
That's from 99 Nights, the friggin'... What was the developer behind that?
He's a legend.
What was the developer?
He's a legend.
Yeah, I know that's...
He was talking about the 1 million troops.
1 million troops.
Wow.
And it's funny because nobody reacted. He's like, 1 million troops.
That was, I mean, that whole presentation is a podcast right there. I love that. It's such an awkward, fun, weird.
Who was the publisher behind that? Was it Konami? I forget. Yeah, it was Konami.
Konami, yeah. And they had the wrestlers out there doing their weird skits. They had the Dance Dance Revolution. It was great. That was such a great conference. It was so weird. I love it.
Back when Konami cared about more than pachinko machines.
Yeah, but passion is good. You could feel the passion behind it. It was awkward as hell, but
it was awkward. But dude was definitely excited. It was like 1 million.
That's not easy to do, guys. Come on. It's
hard. It's a great technical achievement. People are like, oh, whatever. Sure. I guess there's a lot of things on screen. Like, what do I care? But continuing on with the whole sales thing. So Monster Hunter Rise has sold at this point, I believe, 7.7. We can round that up to like 8 million copies total. And one of the things that I wanted to bring up as well is we talked about in previous podcasts how Capcom is going to be moving more towards making PC one of their primary markets. We talked about this multiple times. And the other day, I was checking out like sales figures for World, and this is when I was really like, yeah, of course, this makes perfect sense, because this is a phenomenon that, in my opinion, you probably don't see as much in consoles. Maybe I'm wrong, but because it seems like people from consoles, right, they'll play a game. And this is me as a console player also speaking. We'll play a game, and then we'll move on, and we'll play another thing completely different. And we very rarely go back and buy like an older game, right? Whereas on PC, because of the way that the Steam store works, and because of the way that they're constantly bringing up meaningful things from yesteryear and putting it right in front of you, it seems like people in PC just tend to buy those old games more. So to give you guys an idea, I was looking at the peak concurrent players for Monster Hunter World. I think this was either 2021, I think was when this data was there, because I was just looking at a random list. And then you go to like July 2021, and Monster Hunter World breaks 130,000 concurrent players. And it's like, you're talking about a game that came out in 2018. It's like in 2021, it's breaking 100,000 concurrent. There's 130,000 something. And I was like, okay, so July lines up, Steam summer sale. And then I look at it again, October, 130,000 concurrents again, because it goes back down to like 30,000 or something. And again, remember, we're talking about World, not Rise, World. And then in friggin' October, 130,000 again. And of course, makes sense, Halloween sale, because they're constantly bringing it back up, and people go and they play it again. And I think that makes a perfect sense for that whole thing about the long tail graphic and whatnot of PC sales. And yeah, I just don't think that's as prevalent when it comes to consoles.
Yeah. But I love the comments of when they announced that they said that, this year, as early as 2022, they think that PC is going to be half their sales. And did you see like the note on Resident Evil 7? So Resident Evil 7 released in 2017, right? It sold 3.5 million.
Right. It's 7, because I got it confused with Village. I was like, yeah, Village is pretty recent.
So 7 sold 3.5 in 2017. Flash forward to 2021 when Village is coming out. It's like Gabe Newell said, right? Like it's piracy. It's not piracy, but I'm not talking about piracy, but he said it's a service problem, right? Like being able to just buy things instant. You could do that on Steam and PC, so that's really good. So people are like, I want to get into Village, I'm going to go buy 7 and play it. And it sold 1 million copies in half a year in 2021.
What you said is actually 1,000% correct. The quote, it is piracy is a service problem. It's a response to the fact that the services are not good enough, and therefore people resort to piracy.
Yeah, but it also shows that there's opportunity. There's money. There's opportunity to, if you make things accessible to people, like old games,
they'll buy it.
Like, because it's like Village coming out. Yeah, you want to play 7? It's got the same protagonist, or whatever. Or he's in there. Sure, I'll play it. And boom, they sold 1 million copies years later, and that's only thanks to PC.
And it's like it's kind of the same thing with Rise. Like, people are getting hyped up about Monster Hunter Rise before that version came out, or maybe even people that played through Rise and they finished and they're like, hey, maybe I should check the old one. And they go back and they play World. Whereas it seems that consoles don't do as good of a job of like connecting those dots to people because, you boot up your console, you play your game, you turn it off. Whereas on Steam, you're on the storefront, so it's constantly showing you, oh, by the way, you like this game, maybe you'll like this one as well, and keep suggesting.
And they don't have to worry about inventory or retailers. It's just digital sales, So they can leave it up there. They can do sales. They can do all sorts of stuff with it. And it's like, utilize your back catalog, guys. So I'm hoping that this gives them the initiative to do, like they've done remakes of Resident Evil, and it's been wildly successful. I would like to see that they start to step up and say, okay, let's take a look at some of the past Monster Hunter games. That would be nice.
So
SuperRAD got his 5,000 likes.
5,000? No.
They said that he only needed 500, was it, or 5,000?
No. So this is a tweet that, for those of you that haven't seen it, this is a tweet by SuperRAD. I'm actually not sure if this is like true or if he just photoshopped it.
I think he photoshopped it. I'm guessing he did, but
I think it'd be really weird for the official Monster Hunter account just say like, oh yeah, just 3,000. It might be true. Like, listen, SuperRAD, if you watch this, then let us know if it's actually true or if you were just like messing around. I don't know. But either way, I saw the post and I was like, dude, we got to pump these numbers up. We got to give them double.
By the time I saw it, it was already over that. So
yeah, so he said, how many likes to get a Monster Hunter Freedom Unite 3 Ultimate and 4U HD collection on the Switch? And here's what I'll say. Not just the Switch, but because with their PC strategy, let's get on the Switch and the PC, at least. I'd love it for it to be on other consoles, but obviously Rise is not on other consoles, so I don't think that'd be something that they'd be too interested. Not to mention that FU is a PlayStation thing. Actually, yeah, FU being on the Switch would be weird probably because it's a PlayStation thing. It's a PlayStation Portable.
They had FU on iOS. They even added the target camera to it. It was great.
So
from Monster Hunter 3rd Gen.
And then you got 3U and 4U, which was obviously Wii U and 3DS, and just put all those on the Switch. Hell, if we can't get FU, then just give us 3U and 4U on the Switch. I'd be happy because that's Nintendo, maybe less licensing problems. But, if they would put it on PC as well. But anyways, he asks, how many likes would it take to get these things in HD collection on the Switch? And then there's a reply from supposedly the official Monster Hunter account saying, let's say 3,000. And then he just posts this image on Twitter. And by the time I saw it, it was already at 3,000. So I was just like, no. We need this to be at least twice as much as they're saying. Actually, I wanted it to be 10 times. I wanted us to get the 30,000. Because if we had gotten to 30,000, then Capcom would be looking at that and be like, that's interesting.
But you know what, actually, what's funny is whether it was just a funny joke or not, that kind of thing actually does help the company push for this stuff and turn and say there is an appetite for it. Like people, even like shit posts, people are reacting to it. Like people want this stuff, Like there's
if you think about,
we need to get on petition.org. We need to make give us old school Monster Hunter.
If you think about like Dark Souls, that's how it came about to be. It was like a random forum post where somebody was talking about it, and then suddenly it exploded because everybody wanted it on PC. Yes, bring it over. And eventually, like a year or two later, whatever it was, then they were like, yeah, sure, we'll bring it over. And it was a disgusting port. It was terrible. But guess what? It was there, and it was Dark Souls, and it was better than not having. Like, I don't know if you remember, but like, I don't even know if you were playing it back then. But the original resolution of it was 1024 by 760. That was like the base resolution of the game on PC. But interestingly enough, like 30 minutes after the game went live, someone made a 1080p patch for it so that it would work on standard resolutions. It was this guy called, I think, Durante. He made something called DS Fix, which would fix the resolution of Dark Souls. Dude, trip down memory lane.
If Capcom wants an opportunity to do it, I think the perfect timing would be the start of, let me make sure I get my dates right here. It'd be the start of 2024.
No.
For the anniversary.
Oh, you mean
before they start their marketing campaign for Monster Hunter 6, if they say, hey, this is a celebration of where we came from, there's a remaster collection. They're older games, so like they'll make it clear that it's not going to be people's first experience. It shouldn't be that because the game has evolved quite a bit. But if they release an HD collection as part of their anniversary celebration, because Switch players are going to probably be left in the dust for Monster Hunter 6.
Yeah.
So give them that. Sunbreak will have run its course. It'll be a year and a half afterwards. Throw out the HD collection on every platform. And then around, a little bit later in the anniversary, say, and now we're going to give you the trailer for the next big step. And then blow our heads off.
I think HeyJ would be a little bit sad if that happened because he's playing through 3 Ultimate right now on the Wii.
I know.
And he's like, wait, but then you put this on the Switch? No, you can't do that.
I feel bad. As someone who loves the old school Monster Hunter and the grind, I think I've played it too much. Where like I told you we stopped playing Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate at G3 because making that Seregio set took a lot out of us. That was like 7 hours of hard grind to get that set. And I'm just like, after enjoying Iceborne and Rise and getting so used to the more, and also now, just like version. I said, oversaturation. There's lots of other stuff that's calling my name to do. I'm kind of like, I don't know. Because then again, I've already done this like 3 times. This is my 4th time through. But so I'm kind of like, I think if she's good, I'm good. I'm not going to force it.
But that's the sales. That's the state of Monster Hunter right now. So another little
playing a little of the PC version.
A little update before we jump into that is that the PC version had this failed to save bug.
Ooh.
Apparently that's been fixed. So at least all of the latest reports. They even had like a blog post that they did on Steam earlier yesterday, I think. And in there, they specifically address it like, look, this has been fixed. Now, I haven't experienced that problem, so, I can't
update your game.
Just update your game if you've been having the fail to save fix and hopefully the fail to save bug, and hopefully that has been fixed by now. If it hasn't, then make sure to report it back to them. Tell them, it's not fixed yet. It's not fixed yet. Fix it. Got to fix it. But the PC version has been a ton of fun because I've been exploring like different play styles. I've been playing wide shelling gunlance, and that has been very interesting because it's an extremely aggressive play style using guard reload, which I've barely used on the Switch. And it's just very fun to just sit in the monster's face and go like poke shell, poke, and then you time your reloads. 20's about to counter you, so you block it. And you reload and you bam, 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 keep going. It's been very, very fun because you can literally just sit in the monster's face and go ham. Like I'll sit in Apex and Ogre's face. I don't care. Just like slamming him. And poor Mizu, dude. Mizu got the mighty corn popper so bad. Like I'm telling you that even in the Apex emergency, like I told people, like, listen, Mizu is going to be the easiest one by far. And people are like, yeah, sure. I've been struggling with Mizu. And I was like, okay. And then I get in there. It's like every time I touch Mizu, he's just like in the ground. Look, he's got a glass jaw. He's just got a glass jaw, dude. You punch him in the face a couple of times, falls
would you
over.
agree? I think the hardest Apex would be Zinogre probably for most people. It depends on the person.
Yes.
But I would say in general, most people seem to struggle more with that monster than the other ones.
I think Zinogre is the hardest one because he has a lot of moves that have very little telegraph. He just like pops them off. And not only that, but almost nobody uses stun resistance. And that's how he gets you.
I use it. You kidding me? Once I tasted that with Fatala's head, I ain't ever not going to have that on. You kidding me?
It's like, I think that the first time that I did him on the PC version, I think he carded me like twice or something. And then I was like, okay, dude, you asked for it. I go ahead and I just slot in stun resistance. Like, okay, let's go. Give me all that lightning debuff you want. I don't care. It doesn't make a difference anymore. Because every time I carded to him was because of a stun. And I was like, well, we just eliminate that problem. We just take care of that stun part and that's it. Yeah. That's all you need.
I think the 2 silent killers of hunters is stun and defense down.
Yeah.
Defense down is something that the game does a poor job of explaining it, but like man, when like a Cantor hitting people with that and stuff, and everyone carding like crazy, like, why am I carding? What the hell? How did you one shot me? Because you had defense down.
Yep.
It reminds me of like the stacks in Final Fantasy. And you're like, you got 4 stacks, Gaijin. What's going on? I'm like, I'm collecting cards. It's good.
4? What do you mean 4? You had 8.
Yeah, baby. I think defense down though is honestly, it's a cool mechanic that I wish they could focus more on, because I think having strong debuffs from the monsters and being able to communicate that could be a way that they can finally level the playing field between the hunters and the monsters. Like, you can't make the monsters any faster, and the hunters are already like Sonic the Hedgehog. You know, the versatility is there for most weapons minus Gunlance.
What?
But, I'm joking. But like, you know, how do you level it out? I think, you know, not just like, oh, we'll give them all statuses. No, like, how about some interesting debuffs that never existed before? Like slower wirebug charging, or taking more damage, taking more elemental damage.
It's
but
like,
if you spec'd out your set, you'd be okay. You could still take that and still survive, you know? Like,
they have done some new interesting debuffs, like particularly in the form of Hellfire. I love Hellfire. Hellfire is so much fun. The problem is that...
well, that's not a debuff. That's a buff, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
exactly, because after you learn how to use it, it's like, oh, this is a buff. It's like, oh, thank you for hitting me with that.
I'm running after it to get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Give me.
Give me that debuff so that I can slap you in the face with. Interesting. Here's another interesting thing. I was able to knock Mizu down twice using Hellfire, which I was like twice consistently. I was like, what? Like, that doesn't happen very often, particularly in the super version. I'm like, oh, that's weird. But yeah, I knocked his ass down twice. Yeah.
But the second one is a hard one.
Yeah. But yeah, for him, it was like twice. I think it's just that glass jaw. I might have like slapped him in the face one time too many. He's like, oh no, don't hurt me anymore. He just lays on the ground. He's like, no, stop.
It's the crunchy sound of breaking those ears, the fins. It's too good.
I love it. I'm all about that part breaker. I'm all about that part breaker. But yeah, that's the PC version. I've been having a blast with it. A lot of people have been having a blast with it. Last time I checked, there was still like a high of like 70,000 concurrent players, considering that it's been a significant time afterwards. So it's still really, really good. So it seems that people are enjoying it quite a bit, which is a good thing. There's also been all kinds of crazy mods, like friggin' Thomas the Tank Engine Palamutes. And it's like,
that had me in stitches laughing.
Sure did. Thomas the Tank Engine.
Thomas Tank is gonna forever be in every Capcom game. I remember first seeing it in the Resident Evil 2 remake, where they had swapped out
Mr. X.
What's his name?
Yeah, Mr. X.
With Thomas the Tank, and when he started coming, they was like, sorry, I'm gonna get you a DMCA takedown if I sing that anymore.
Yeah,
but, that was funny.
It's like DMCA's for everything nowadays. Like
Seth finally got his duck in the game.
Oh, through mods, yeah. Both Seth and Sarah love that goddamn duck. I remember Sarah using that in World. Like, he would just be a giant duck, and his Palico would be another duck, and they just like ducking around. It's called Goku, right? I think that's what it was called.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that's the PC version. Like, I still have my theory, even though a lot of people told me that I'm crazy. I still have my theory that there's better AI in the PC version. Like, you cannot pull me away from that theory. Like,
I was thinking about this, but I wanted to make an image, but I didn't have time. But you know, like that meme image where it's like, okay, mom, or okay, grandma, and they're like walking the old lady, and it's you just get it's. As you get older, you're trying to find excuses for why you're getting hit. So you're like, the AI's gotten better. It's like, no, you've gotten slower. Okay, Grandpa.
No, but here's the thing, because some people were saying like, oh, there's no way that they would reprogram the AI. You're crazy. And it's like, I didn't say they reprogrammed it. It's just like, as someone who, like, I in college, we had to program AIs to play certain games. Like, we had to program an AI to play Othello. And I think that my
It could be the frames.
me and my friend's AI, I think it actually cheated at some point. They were just because I remember us playtesting one of the games because the idea was like the AIs bounce the board back and forth between them, and our AI at one point would just like bounce a wrong board where we were just grossly winning.
It'd be interesting.
But we never
like,
told anyone. We were like, no, our AI is fine, dude. It's working great. but
I'm curious about the underlying programming. Like, does a monster check every frame or every other frame to see what is going on and then make a decision based on that? And if so, then more frames, or if it's like on the first or the second frame, like a small change in that could make their reaction time a little bit faster.
I don't think it's just that. I think that, so it's like this. When you're programming an AI, what you have to do is you do a set of, there's these things called heuristics. And what you do is you basically like, let's say for instance, if you look at it from a chessboard, right? You would analyze all of the moves that you can do on the board, and then you assign a value to each of them based on your perceived advantage. I mean, theoretically, you would analyze like 5 moves in advance or 6 moves in advance or something like that. And figuring that out, how many moves in advance you want to play and how, what's the value for each board that could potentially happen. That's how you kind of like develop an AI. So if you think about it in terms of a monster, think of it, for instance, from a Rathian standpoint, right? At any given moment, the Rathian's going to have like certain things where it's going to be like, okay, so if I throw a fireball now, this has a value of like 5 out of 10 or something. It's probably more than that's going to be out of 100 or something. It's going to be more complex. But let's say, okay, so my fireball has a 5 out of 10 in terms of value because the hunter is at a certain range. If I do my tailspin, that's going to have like an 8 out of 10 because the hunter's in the perfect position to be hit by the tailspin. Right? And there's all of that. But in a certain way, they also have to limit the heuristic in a way where it's like, okay, so we can't just have the Rathian just sitting there like just like calculating what it's gonna do next. So they have to reach a certain point where it's like, okay, after you thinking for like, I don't know, 200 milliseconds or something, you execute. Like whatever is the thing that was the highest score, you execute it. And that, in my opinion, is something that just through the potential of having more hardware resources, it could just be improved by that because it's able to calculate better. It's also able to potentially track calculate faster. And it would also just be able to track hunters better because like I've seen certain attacks that seem to have better tracking. And I'm not the only one. A lot of people have told me like they feel it as well. And then there's also people who say, I don't notice any difference. So it could also just be
that like a revamped AI would be a killer feature for Monster Hunter 6.
Yes,
because right now when you have 4 hunters, it's reacting to so many things going on that it feels really natural and like a living, breathing creature. But you go in there as a solo player and the curtain is blown off. Like it's so obvious. It's like, okay, he looks at how far away I am from him, and he looks at what he just did, and you can spam the living. That's why everyone would stand behind a Teostra and just hit his back leg. He would constantly just try to turn around, and he wouldn't jump around, and you can control him. So the AI is still pretty rudimentary, but it works really well online. But I would love to see a more robust AI system for the monsters in the next big game. That would be crazy fun.
And it needs to have like specific moves to deal with multiple players. Because like I said, you get one player to distract the monster and the game's just like infinitely easier.
Yeah.
But it's like, again, guys, keep in mind that all of this is just like me theorizing why it could potentially be better on PC.
It could just be you getting old, yeah.
No. God damn it. It's just theory from my own experience in college and whatnot of messing around with AIs and whatnot. But I could be wrong, and there could be no difference whatsoever. It could be a frame rate thing where it's just able to better track and better do things because of frame rate. Because I think that people have analyzed the PC version. They said that certain things are tied to frame rate. What is it with Japanese developers and tying things to frame rate, Gaijin? What the hell is wrong with them? They're always just like because like I remember that, like for instance, Dark Souls, because of the fact that it was supposed to run in 30 FPS, and then people would put it in 60 FPS and it'd be running in fast forward.
Yeah. It would just break everything. Yeah. I mean, there's advantages if you look back at the old generations of consoles where there was more restrictions and limitations, there are some really good, and one of the reasons I think, and I could be wrong on this, but there used to be a disparity that they had to take into consideration when it came to PAL versions of games, because the refresh rates were different.
Yeah.
I remember like there was old days of QA PAL versions and QA, JP or US versions were different because you couldn't do it in the same monitor back on PlayStation 1 and 2.
Because for some strange reason, we Europeans, we thought it's like, listen, 5 is a much better number than 6. So they have 60 hertz, but we're going to be better and we're going to have 50. And people were like, that sounds like less. It's like, no, but it's 50. But why?
So
because it's 50.
I'm guessing there's some legacy there where like just the general know-how of saying, okay, we're going to fix it to something that is going to be, constant. It's not a variable thing. Like we know this is this, so let's tie it to that. Maybe there's just something in there that historically has helped them out, and maybe they don't need to do that anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something to think. I just remember back in the day hearing from like QA testers about, we tested the PAL version and everything was broke, and it's like, oh my god. And I'm thinking, wait, what do you mean the PAL version? And then I learned about the hertz thing. I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you look at I'm a huge fan of summoning. What's his name? Why do I want to say summoning salt? Do I have that right?
Summoning salt and sanctuary.
No, the speedrun documentaries.
The speedrun documentaries, I don't know what you're talking about.
What this guy makes like movies on YouTube, and they are amazing. The history of speedruns. Hang on.
Yeah, I've
oh my god. Yeah, Summoning Salt. Yeah, so if you have, oh my god, Ruri, you have got to binge this guy's stuff. Oh my god. They are literally, when I say they are movies, they're movies. They're like 45 to 50 minutes, really, really well produced.
I might have
historical documentations on speedrunning and specific games, and the dude's a speedrunner as well, so he knows what he's talking about. But it's so good. Oh my god!
I might have already seen some of his stuff because every now and then I do look up some speedrun things that I find interesting.
But he'll mention how like historically how speedruns, they would use the Japanese version instead, or they would use the PAL version because of just the frame calculation or whatever is a little bit different, and how it affects the AI or how it affects transitions and stuff like that. So it's like, I don't doubt that it's possible that there's something different, especially because it's a Japanese game developer. So,
but in that case, it makes me want to have a better monitor even more, so that I could have even more FPS to see if the AI gets even better. But I'll tell you what. If considering the vibe that I get from that, it definitely makes me want to play the PC version more than the Switch version, because, like I said, some of the monsters feel harder. Like it feels like they can track me better, and I want to chase that high.
Thing,
yeah, I want to chase that high, that challenge. Give it to me.
So
give it to me hard.
So Sunbreak PC, you're gonna be your main version, huh?
I don't know, man. I'm still thinking about it, but it's like. If the AI, like, I wish that one of the developers just come out, yeah, it's better because there's more resources on PC, and I'd be like, okay, that's the one I'm playing then. Thank you very much. I just need concrete evidence, because it's very hard for me to look at it and be like, it feels different than it did on the Switch. I don't know, but yeah.
But it could be a trick of the mind. Yeah,
it could.
It's the old engineering joke, right? Like you're in the voice studio, you play, you do the line 2 times. Producer's like, no, I don't like that one. You're like, oh, how about this? And you play back the exact same one. That's so much better.
That's 1,000 times better.
you're feeling something that's not there, but okay.
So, in today's post, director Suzuki, who's the one behind Sunbreak. He says, hello, everyone. I'll be revealing some key phrases from today on. First one, kingdom creatures. And I was like,
isn't that from like 2 weeks ago?
Is it? I don't know.
In Japan. That was like weeks ago.
Okay, because it's like, look, this post was made yesterday on Steam because it's got a bunch of updates. And it also says in that post, plus a new update from Sunbreak director Suzuki. And then at the end, they just give you that line. And I was like, okay. kingdom
Means
creatures.
nothing.
I'm not exactly sure what that's supposed to mean. But I'm guessing it's not just themed around like Eastern monsters, Eastern European monsters. Maybe it'll be some more regal creatures. I don't know.
I can find the Let me see if I can find the Japanese name for that.
Yeah.
Like I remember reading it and being like, okay, that's like nothing. They're just trying to come up with a topic to keep it relevant, but
to keep it in the discussion, basically.
Oh wow, hang on. I'm gonna break like I normally do. I have to break the flow. I just noticed as I say boot up, but as I go to Twitter, I'm such an old man. SuperRAD had a post where he's like, for every 5 likes this sketch, I'll say something nice about Monster Hunter World, and it's got 1,644 likes.
I think he said yesterday that it's like, oh, I have to make a video apology about how I can't come up with more than 80 nice things to say about Monster Hunter.
He's at 145 as of 13 hours ago. That's.
Oh man.
I think he's skipping numbers though. I don't know, but anyway,
he's
gonna have to. Hang on, let me see here. Monster Hunter Rise.
Yeah, but it's like when he says kingdom creatures, like one of the things that instantly comes to mind is like you got Teostra, obviously a very regal royal creature that's got like his armor set. Lunastra. Could kingdom creatures mean that we're definitely getting Lunastra for Sunbreak? Uh-oh. I think a lot of people are not going to like that.
I retired. No. Oh, man. If I can get the opportunity to smack her around with the wire bugs, oh, my God, give me that opportunity. Payback the bitch.
What if her Nova is real annoying, though?
I got bugs, man. It's okay.
I got bugs.
I got bugs, man. Endemic life for the win. Yes.
Dude,
they post so much.
They do. I've definitely gotten a lot of value out of endemic life ever since I started, like, because I've been starting to do routes on PC now because of that whole thing of when we started doing the Apexes on Switch, and I was carding. Somebody said, "Oh, you should just look at Spirit Birds as preparation." I was like, "Oh man, I've been obsessed with like making different routes across the different maps to maximize it." So it's like the one that's the worst so far is Flooded Forest. Okay, look, that map is just not very good. For starters, it looks bad. I don't like the look of that map. It's like all brown and gray and pastel colors. And then on top of it, there's not particularly, at least I haven't fine-tuned my route. But yeah. I've also been abusing blast toads, dude. Oh my god. Blast toads are disgusting. You just get guaranteed downs on monsters. It's not even a problem. Just like poke, poke, poke after they're down. So bad. Did you find the quote you're looking for?
No, but I did find that one GIF that is very interesting, which was the Minato drawing of.
I can't believe you just said, "Oh God, dude, stop!"
But they had the little animated GIF of the cat riding on top of the monster of Lunagarong or whatever the name is, and I'm like, "What the hell is that?" that had me interested.
Dude. Maybe it's Prowler mode. Maybe they're bringing Prowler mode back with Sunbreak.
Nah, I'm going to assume no. I'm not going to have my heart broken.
Imagine a Prowler riding on.
I'd rather be happily surprised
Wyvern riding.
Than made set. I'm still scrolling. God dang, they have so many posts. Here, I found it. January 19th.
Okay.
Is when they posted in Japan, and always says, "Hey, this is the director Suzuki from today. Periodically, I'll be giving you some keywords." Today's keyword. The keyword for this time is, it's like royal creatures, but I mean like.
So wait, it's royal.
Hang on a second.
Because like the English version is kingdom creatures, and now you're saying royal creatures.
Oh, I'm taking liberties here. I mean when they're saying, was it Oriki? I can't. My brain is bugging out on me, but basically they're talking about like the territory of the kingdom. They're talking about like an area when they say royal. They're not talking about like, it's not an adjective like, oh, it's a royal creature, like it's a regal creature. They're talking about creatures around the royal kingdom, which means that I imagine there's probably, and when they say seibutsu, it's not monster. Seibutsu is like kind of what you would think of like endemic life. It's like an organism, a living creature. So I'm thinking that they have
So
new endemic life in this game.
They're talking about endemic life, most likely.
Yeah, probably, yeah. In the kingdom.
More new endemic life. There's already so much endemic life. Well, maybe you think they would ever get rid of spear birds? Because that seems to be a point of contention in a lot of people in the community right now.
I no idea. They might adjust how it works. You know, maybe they'll make it less, so it's like instead of collecting 50, they'll have it where like there's only like you only need to collect like 5 or something, and it's I don't know.
But I mean, think of it. If you have to collect like 5, then there would have to be less of them in the map, because otherwise, like I mean,
yeah,
you can easily collect 5 super fast in the current maps.
Yeah, and then like do the sparrow birds really exist in the kingdom? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Because
like they could come up with a more advanced system, you know.
Could the pedal ace?
I don't think that would work. Yeah.
Could the pedal ace just be like a Kimura technology thing because of the kingdom of? But I mean,
That's my guess.
They're not going to make like new maps. I mean, they're going to make a couple of new maps. What I mean is like they're not going to scrap the existent maps.
Yeah, exactly. So but
that would be weird.
Work it. So who knows? I have no idea.
Maybe there's a monster that just eats the spear birds. He just goes around eating spear birds, and that would explain, oh yeah, spear birds have become much more scarce now because there's this crazy monster that eats them. There's a lot of ways to just like justify adjustments to spear birds, because it's
what was the English that they gave for that? Rural creatures?
Kingdom creatures.
Okay, no, that's perfect, because kingdom refers to the surrounding area, the kingdom,
endemic
and then creatures is different from monsters, so that's actually really good. That
it's
like usual.
Could it be them bringing back, now that I think about it, could it be them bringing back the collection of endemic life? Because we don't have that in Rise. We had that in the world. That would be
awesome. Like taking pictures of them and collecting them, having them in your room
like,
and stuff.
You have rare.
I hope so.
You have rare endemic life, but you can't really
collect them. Yeah,
But
it's possible because people mentioned they wanted it.
I've found
in Japan.
I've organically found more endemic life in the PC version than I did on Switch for sure. Because again, I don't know what it is, but just like it's my old man eyes. Like you see, I wear glasses, like I can't see properly, so the added resolution of the PC version made it easier for me to find things that are more hidden than the Switch version for sure, dude.
Well, I'll tell you, more people would be enticed to go find like the Phoenix or the Cobras if they can have one in their room. That's for sure.
Or at least, if you can customize the room, so I guess that'd be cool. But if there was like some kind of benefit for grab, because there's nothing right now, right? You can take a picture with it, but it's whatever.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. I think, right?
They're cute. They're cute.
Yeah, they're cute. You can see them and all of that, but it's not like in World where you pick them up and then it's like, oh, now it shows
World
up
was
here.
Awesome. I think they really nailed the My Room in that game.
No. They had a massive failure. A massive failure. Like my hunter can't jump into the bed and make that thud sound like from hitting that rock hard bed. And it's like it's like if you got to give me that. It's the little things, okay? Like they've given us back the So Tasty, which was very important. They gave us back the So Tasty. So now you need to give us back the whole thing about the hunter jumping onto the bed and going like that needs to happen.
I don't care. They don't need arm wrestling, but we got to have some type of little rapid press mini game for the hub.
Right. Yeah.
We need that random like spin the winning thing. It's cute, but that's not a replacement. We need people to be able to goof around more.
Yeah, I agree.
You know how many minutes of fun we've had? Probably hours of just splashing each other in those the water in Iceborne. Like me and Yuna would have a blast going there and just splashing each other and stuff. Like
that was good. They do need some more interactive things in the hub. Even though I love that hub, I think that hub looks amazing, right? But it'd be cool like if you could do more things.
I can't say something nice about World. People think I hate it for some reason.
You can't criticize.
Even though I will still say Sunbreak has the potential, but for me, if I had to choose right now, actually, now that I've gone back to play the old games recently and like the nostalgia, like I still believe that the best Monster Hunter game is the one that you're currently playing, like the latest one, because they're so good. All of them are so wonderful, right? And they're so different that there's such an advancement on the other ones that they do age okay, but they do age, of course.
Yeah.
So it's like when you go back, it's like, okay, in 2022, what do I feel is the best Monster Hunter? I would say it's Iceborne right now.
Yeah.
Can Sunbreak beat it or be on par? Sure, and I hope it is. But
It's
it's
like-
a very different experience.
Whenever people ask me that, for starters, it does get a little bit frustrating because it gets asked so much. But it's like my answer is always, I like the combat of Rise more. I like the pacing of Iceborne more. And this was interesting because recently someone asked me, and I think that very few people expected this answer, but someone asked me on my stream, Rurikhan, if you could change one thing in Monster Hunter Rise, what would it be? And I think everybody expected me to say, well, I want Gunlance to scale with raw damage. I want this thing for Gunlance, that thing. And basically I just said, remove Wirefall. I would actually want to remove Wirefall. If I could change just one thing.
You say that now because you haven't gone against Master Rank Lunastra. That's why.
I don't care. It's like if I could change one thing in Rise, it would be to remove Wirefall. Because the more I think about it, I think Wirefall has actually made us into worse hunters. Like I think the navigating and all
Most
the silk
parts are
binds
because of
and
it.
not just because of it, but it's like it's this get out of jail free card where it's like, for instance, Magnamalo does his spinning around thing and hooks you and grabs you, right? It's like, who cares? I'll Wirefall. You know? Like Rajang grabs you. Who cares? I'll Wirefall. So long as you have your wire bug, you're good. It doesn't matter.
You know what they need to do? What they need to do is the cooldown on Wirefall need to be like double. Like you can use it, but you're going to be missing a bug for quite some time.
Nah.
Right now, it's basically you pop them like candy. So
Yeah, pretty much. It's like anything happens, Wirefall.
Yeah, you almost always
Wirefall.
have like one
Yeah.
bug. Yeah, so
But it's like that would be the one thing that I would change in Rise because, like I said, one of the, as you play the game for longer, you start seeing the flaws a little bit more. And the biggest flaw,
Yeah.
I think, is just how faster paced it is. Like I think it's too fast. Like it's not that I can't
Yeah,
keep
well,
up.
it
I just
takes-
think that it
does-
becomes too fast. It's not as methodical as it used to be.
yeah,
so it becomes more of an action game.
dilutes the method,
Yeah.
the commitment behind stuff. It just dilutes it and allows
So-
you not to really feel the pain of
So
your
I would
mistakes.
So I would sacrifice my one wish, and instead of fixing the gun lance, I would actually remove Wirefall.
Wow.
I think a lot of people will be like, Rurikhan, no, I need Wirefall. It's like, no, Wirefall's got to go. But no, Wirefall's going to be present in Sunbreak like 1,000%. There's no way they remove that mechanic because, it's just they're going to be expanding on the systems
integral.
that they've built. Yeah. It's just going to be a thing.
Especially if they have better AI or crazier monsters, like we're gonna need it. So
Yeah, because stuff's going to hit and it's going to hit hard and it's going to hurt.
yeah.
But I figured that we should touch up on the subject of my vindication after hounding
let's do a
you
quick-
for how many
We'll do a
how
small
many
intermission
episodes?
for you guys.
Yeah. How many episodes have I hounded Gaijin? How many devious plans have I formulated by trying to corrupt young Yuna's mind to go and harass you into becoming addicted to 14? And I'll tell you what, before we get started with this, I'm actually concerned, Gaijin. I'm very concerned.
No,
'cause-
wait, save it. We'll do this whole corner. So I'm gonna say, for Monster Hunter, I think we've covered everything that's been going on, and
Yeah.
it's been fun, and the community is great. Stick around though if you want. It's going to be spoiler free,
Yes.
but I want you to stick around. We'll do a spoiler podcast where we'll talk about each expansion. I think we're still trying to figure out what's best,
Yeah.
where to do it and how to do it. But we're going to talk a little bit about how Ruri made me one of them. So. Please stick around and listen to that if you're even remotely interested in Final Fantasy XIV, because I think you might be.
Yeah. So, Gaijin, this has been the first MMO that you have ever played, basically. Correct?
Not basically, but yes. Like,
What do you mean?
fundamentally, yes.
Oh, yeah, because you played Fantasy Life or whatever it was previously.
I don't. That's not an MMO. I don't think I've ever played an MMO, and I don't even know if I would consider 14 an MMO. I know that's a weird topic.
14 is most definitely an MMO. The thing is, it values the RPG side more than most MMOs do. But
yeah, it's a great JRPG with a side serving of MMO. It's pretty delicious.
Some people consume it the other way around, which is like it's a great MMO with a side serving of JRPG, but everybody agrees that the story, at least most people agree that the story is phenomenal overall. But it's like the thing that I'm concerned about is because you have been exhibiting all kinds of unhealthy habits when it comes to MMO consumption. You, my friend, have been addicted. So for people to get an idea, to get us a timeline here, you started playing.
I actually wrote my timeline out here.
Okay, then hit us with it.
So I started on December 29th, almost exactly a month ago.
Okay.
And,
oh my God.
And I know. It's been just a few days over a month, and yes, I have about 320 hours.
Oh no.
Yeah. Keep in mind we had a very long New Year's break, so I was able to put in like 15 hours a day and sometimes, so like that balances it out. I've also been sleeping at 3, 4 in the morning sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on December 29th, Lily Bloodbath, the greatest Lalafell that ever graced the land, warrior of light, literally warrior of light.
So let's start.
Was born on Spriggan.
Let's start there. Why the warrior?
So it's like one, I gotta call out the fact that the whole reason why I started this was because I was realizing that I was against playing Soul Sacrifice for the longest time and Vita and stuff like that. I was like, it's probably not for me. Then you guys got me on it, right? You and Kagrin. And I felt absolutely in love. And it was one of the greatest experiences, right? So I became a little bit more open-minded. And I said, okay, I've got New Year's break. I'm taking like 2 weeks off. We're just going to be lounging around playing games all the time. I was like, if I'm going to humor you, this would be the way to do it. And so on an off chance, I was bored one night. I created a free trial account on the PS5, which I had just sitting there. And I'm like, well, I may as well use the PS5 for something, right? And I made a trial account. And the next morning, they announced that they're stopping trial accounts. So this was destiny, okay, guys?
Yep.
This is truly destiny. So I had an account for Lily Bloodbath, created on the Japanese server. And I quickly realized I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I got you on the phone and we went over and you tried to teach me some basics and then you let me go and I realized I'm still running into the damn wall. I didn't know what I was doing. So a day later on the 29th, I actually started on the 28th, the 29th, I kill Lily Bloodbath in Japan. She's just sitting there in the ether. And new Lily was born on the EU Spriggan server on Chaos. The reason being is because I would love the opportunity. I'm going to play it solo, so to say, but I would like the opportunity for us to play a little bit together. And I think we've been doing about once a week. We've been playing together, which is really fun. So you have to be on the same data center, and you're in Europe. My internet's great enough where, I do have the ping issue, I guess, but it doesn't. I don't feel it. At least I'm not doing extreme content, so it's playable. It doesn't even feel laggy to me. But I'm having a good time. But there's pros and cons, right? But that's why I started on the EU server, not Japan, was so that I can have get to play with you a little bit. And then so that was December 29th.
Damn.
January 2nd, base A Realm Reborn was beaten.
Oh my God. That is because and here's the interesting thing. So when I went in there with Gaijin, I already knew what was going to be the biggest challenge, to the point where after the first session, I was like, I think he's just going to drop it. The biggest challenge is targeting on a controller. So I don't know how many people know what a tap targeting MMO is, but the idea is that the reason it's called tap targeting is because on PC you hit the tab key and it cycles between the different targets. That's why it's called tap targeting. So it's not like Monster Hunter was I swing my weapon where my weapon hits, it deals damage. In this game, there's also AoE attacks, but you need to have a target. And targeting is the hardest thing in an MMO to do in a controller. Like, out of all of the things that you ever have to learn to play 14 in a controller, targeting is always going to be the hardest thing. So the fact that you went from I think it was like the 28th when I first started teaching you about targeting. Yeah. And you went from I can't target literally anything in front of me. This game is terrible. Circle and X. Everything's bad.
I was raging, guys.
On the 2nd of January, I've beaten Realm Reborn. It's a little bit. I mean, you're talking about Realm Reborn before the patches.
The base Realm Reborn, base. I'll just call it base for now, and then post for all the patches. So for people who don't know, the game has the expansion or the base game, and you beat it, and then it has what they call the post story, like the patches where they expand it. It's almost like it's an expansion in itself, and it's a lot of content because
it's basically, the idea is, obviously it's an MMO, so it is a live service, and the idea is they give you, here's the main thing, the main bit, and here's a couple of things that you can grind, and then after that, every 2 or 3 months, I'll be like, okay, now here's something else, and then here's something else. So there's a little bit more story, a new dungeon, a new trial, a new something, and boom, there you go. So what he beat was the base version. But
what's really great about the patches is they've already done their big set pieces, they've done their storytelling for the main game, and once they start going into the patches or the additional stories, they just go crazy. Like I won't talk about anything because it's spoiler free, but the story experience is phenomenal for the post game, because that's when they're able to really shake things up and keep people engaged. And so every patch is this engrossed small mini series of stories to go through with really substantial world changing things happening. So I had a blast. So you want to know why I picked Warrior first to start. So I picked Warrior because, one, it's my first time ever playing a game like this. 2, I like axes. I like big, and then I didn't understand what tank and DPS and healer meant, but when I read a little bit about it, it was which one I'm going to, healer, I have to worry about other people or blah, 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 blah. DPS, I'm squishy, and I'm well, I'm not. Warrior, stand right in front of the monster. Take the hits. You're a tank. You can take it. Dish out good damage. That's a warrior. Relatively simple to learn. Big damage. Self-healing.
Oh my
Big
God.
axe.
Warrior
it's everything you would want.
It's so busted with the self-healing
good
right now. Warrior, Jesus
It's so
Christ.
good.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm okay, well, I'm still trying to learn everything else. If I can just kind of stand there, and you actually get to feel kind of like a god when you go into dungeons with other people, because you get to set the pace for everything. You're just everyone's there and they're just waiting for you. The healers are all gotcha bro, and they're all buffing you up, and you just go, okay, I'm going this direction. You take the enemies, come here, I am the captain now. And then they all just try to hit you, and everyone else just whacks on them as you look at them in the face and say, not today, buddy. It's a great feeling. It really feels good. And you just move out of the way if there's a big AoE or something, which the game tells you. It's hey, the healer's got you, but don't make him work 24/7 healing you. Come on, let him have a break, I picked Warrior because I like axes.
You're still mastering the cooldowns part, because we've only recently done a more demanding raid, and I had to now do the thing, and
Yes. So that's why I chose Warrior, and I chose a Lalafell. And I named her Lily Bloodbath.
Why a Lalafell?
And if you, this game, I made a conscious. I know that a lot of people in Final Fantasy simp over their character and not other character. They form their character to be their waifu, right?
A lot of people.
I didn't want that for I didn't want that for this game. I wanted it to be like Dragon's Dogma, which is where I made a character, and she's not me. I'm role playing as her. I'm controlling her. I don't look at her that way. And the Lalafells are absolutely adorable. Their animations are adorable. Small girl, big axe. That's a troop I love. I did the same thing in Dragon's Dogma. I had a really small girl, and she would just jump on dragons and stab them in the chest when other characters couldn't even get under the dragon because they were too big. And it was so fun. Now, of course, in this game, the height doesn't matter. Like, there's no difference. But I just like the aesthetic. And it's just when I think you showed me their walking animation. And I'm like, okay, sold. Yeah, the strut. I was sold. I was like, okay. Because I know, like, okay, like, no, I don't like bunny ears. I know everyone thought I would make a bunny girl. The cat girls are hot, but again, I'm not simping over my character. I would much rather experience it through the lens of another character. So, yeah, hey, Lily was born in...
The first character I ever made was a cat boy. Because I liked their aggressive stance. They stand like they have a very aggressive idle stance, and I was like, I like that. But then I was like, I don't like the fact that he has a tail and cat ears, though. I like his stance. That's all I like about it. I don't like the cat ears and the tail. So I became a higher, and every now and then I swapped to Lalafell, because Lalafell is actually a race that I also really like, particularly because there's like a quest line in Shadowbringers that involves Lalafells. That's really, really cool. But yeah.
But yeah, so and if you want to know the lore behind the name, since I won't really have an opportunity to really talk about my character much as we talk more about story and stuff, it's actually quite simple. So I have two characters that I generally play as in my games. They're always girls, but it's either mature, aged, taller redhead, who's kind of a bitch. Like, just, like brutal, like I was, my femme shep punched that reporter every time. I never not punched a reporter, Okay. Yeah. Like my redhead femme sheps and my hunters are usually redheads. Short hair. That's like one archetype. And then usually when I play a game for the second time and I'm just goofing around and I'm having fun, I go for white hair, usually pigtails, but sometimes ponytails, and smaller frame. And it's just one of those things that I've always done, right? So when I said, okay, Lalafell, I'm going to have fun. I don't want to feel serious about it, so I'm going to have white hair. And it's white, so I was thinking, well, I like... why am I blanking on stuff?
The flower lily?
Yeah. So there's Lily White is a fairy in the Toho Project series that I like. And so the white hair kind of made me think of like Lily. So I said Lily. And then, of course, I love Bloodbath Diablos, and she's going to be wielding an axe and just massacring the monsters. So I said, okay, Lily Bloodbath. And to my surprise, it was not taken. So I was able to use it, which was great.
And a lot of people think that your name is a reference to white mages who are just
white mages, yeah,
crazy about blood for the blood lily.
So, yeah, she was born, and then it took me another 6 days, but I got through all the patches, so to say, the additional story, which was just, you hyped me up for it, and yeah, the post stories are crazy. So January 8th, I had entered Heaven's Ward. I thought it was Heaven's Word.
It's
like
both.
I'm going towards the heavens.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's but
both.
They always pronounce it Heaven's Ward.
Yeah,
it's
because
Ward,
there's that thing in the story about the Heaven's Ward, and there's Heaven's Ward. It's like it's a double thing. It's a double thing. It's both. It's Heaven's Ward and Heaven's Ward. It's the same.
So just on January 8th, Heaven, and I'm mainly doing the main story, but I am doing some side stuff. I still have other side stuff to do, but we are doing it. But
if
Heaven's Word on January 8th.
If people are wondering, before Gaijin got to Heaven's Word, we did Coils.
And Crystal Tower, which I think you have to.
Crystal Tower you have to, but Coils is optional.
Yeah. And so entered Heaven's Word on January 8th. Heaven's Word, I can't wait until we have a podcast or a discussion on that. It was so phenomenal. Oh my God.
Heaven's Word is like one of the best stories ever.
But I gotta say, and we've talked about this, but I gotta say it on the podcast, but like, everyone's like, oh my God, Realm Reborn is painful, or you can just skip it. Or I'm like, are you insane? Like, okay, yeah, there was some areas where the pacing was a little like fetch questy, or like, here, go talk to him, now talk to him, now talk to him, talk to him. But you also get some really, really juicy parts. Like, the story's really good. the character development is really what you're experiencing. And I don't think any of the story would have half the impact, if maybe not even a tenth of the impact it would have if I didn't play Realm Reborn.
Yep.
Like having that time with the characters and having those experiences meant everything. So I actually liked the story a lot. I thought Realm Reborn was great.
Yeah.
I know that it's very different today in 2022 than it was. They've constantly made changes to that thing where it's gotten better. There are still some, rough kind of like, oh my God, slog parts, but they iron out pretty fast. But I thought Realm Reborn was fantastic as well.
By MMO standards, like I think a lot of people are just they might just not play MMOs because by MMO standards, I don't even think like there's that much slog. And I did it before they changed Realm Reborn. I was like, oh, I don't know, it's whatever.
Yeah, so Heaven's Ward, so timeline January 8th I got in there. January 17th I was done with Heaven's Ward. And then 4 days later the patches were all done and I started Stormblood on January 21st. God, was it? So then 21st to 27th was Stormblood main story, and now probably tonight I'm going to finish up the post story for Stormblood and start Shadowbringers.
Oh,
I'm on the last patch.
Damn, dude, he's about to get into Shadowbringers. It's all over. But
the thing is like I can feel the progression. Like everyone's saying, like Realm Reborn is fantastic, and it's more about setting the framework for everything to come, and you do not want to miss that. Yeah. So just struggle through if you do that, but like that was really fun, and I got to understand the world, the characters, and what I like and don't like, and the themes and all that kind of stuff. Heaven's Word was just like insanely good. Like everything in that is chef kiss, like everything.
Yep.
And then Stormblood, it kind of dips a little bit. It was great. I actually liked it a lot, but there are some areas that felt a little grind, like a little down.
The start of Stormblood is like one of the biggest speed bumps. Like I took a break at the start of Stormblood because I was like, dude, I can't. This is
back to the drogginess. It's like it's you have to tough through it. I did not like the start of Stormblood either, but the second half was great, and the post stuff is phenomenal. Like I could tell already. Like once they got they mastered the story in Heaven's Word, or I say that now, but you're probably thinking, no, you haven't seen nothing yet.
Oh no!
But they mastered the storytelling in Heaven's Word and the themes, and then Stormblood, where the story is the pacing is weird. The dungeons and bosses are phenomenal. Yep. It's like they completely changed. I could see they changed the direction of where they wanted to go with that, and it was so good. Yep. Like it's worth playing through that just to experience it. Yeah. I'm guessing the next one is going to be a combination of both awesome story and awesome bosses. But tonight will be the end.
But it's like to say you haven't
a crazy month.
To say you haven't seen anything yet after Heaven's Word, it's like no. After Heaven's Word, you've seen some stuff. Like Heaven's Word is good. It's very like some people prefer Heaven's Word over Shadowbringers. I prefer Shadowbringers over Heaven's Word, but I think that the fact that
they're both phenomenal.
There's people that, can pick one or the other. I think it just shows that these are two stories that are that good. That's like not like the community as a whole came together and like, no, Shadowbringers is the better one. No, because some people, there's some people that prefer Stormblood even.
Yeah.
So it's just about which one.
I can imagine some people prefer Realm Reborn actually, because it's very different feeling from the other expansion. There's a vibe to each one, which is crazy. I never thought that you could take the entire world and make a vibe out of it. And like every expansion is a very different vibe, and it's the same characters. So like, there's real character growth, there's real investment, there's real shock, there's real happiness, there's real sadness. It's a rush of emotion, and like for someone who doesn't play online games, quote quote, like I play Monster Hunter mostly solo. I've never played an MMO in my life. I always thought it was like some crazy weird like like you see like the guys on the esports like jamming on keyboards and stuff, and I hate playing with I won't touch a keyboard for a game. I thought that's what it was, but I didn't realize that no, all those things running around circling on the bottom, it's like Monster Hunter. Like you choose one move, and then if you're doing a combo, it's just you like you can't do this and then that. You have a choice. You start with that or you start with this. A button attack or X button attack. And it's the same thing. So when you hit one button, everything goes in circles as if you can't, it's all cooldown, right?
It's called a global cooldown.
I thought people were like doing 30 things at once, but they're not. They're doing one.
Yeah.
And they're being very strategic about what the next action they take. And they're just on the same global cooldown, which is 2.5 seconds. So it feels like an action game, but it's slow enough that it does kind of feel like an active time battle thing, like the old school Final Fantasies.
In terms of feel, it's going to vary wildly based on your class. Because like if you go to a ninja, for instance, they have like a 1.5 second cooldown instead because they have skill. Yeah, they speed it up, like they're way faster. If you go to samurais, they're also faster. Then if you go to black mage, I think that's a little bit slower. So it's all about, depending on the job that you choose, that is going to dictate how fast it's going to feel for you.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been crazy. Like 1 month, 300 hours. I don't think I've ever even done that with Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's like the story aspect of it is extremely addicting because it's just
weird when you have something that people hype up so high, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna go in there with tethered expectations because it's got that mythical status, whatever. And then you get in there and it's frustrating. Well, it's frustrating at first because you don't get it, and then as you taught me very kindly, like reconfiguring the UI, the system, everything's customizable, and doing it in a way that works and feels good for you changes the experience completely.
Yeah.
And so I'm playing it with a standard controller. I'm having a great time. The screen looks very beautiful. It's fine-tuned to how I like it. I don't feel like I'm struggling or whatever, like with what I play right now. And then the story it's like, God, it's as good as everyone says. Like this is the best story I've ever seen in a game, and I haven't even gotten through all of it.
You're saying that at the end of Stormblood. Wait till you get the Shadowbringer. It's gonna blow your mind.
Yeah, so my mind is blown, and the fact that it took me 7 or 8 years of like, I don't like it, because that word MMO always just turned me off, and World of Warcraft, I'll be honest, visually turned me way off. Like, it looks like American cartoons. It's like it's weird.
I think the important thing,
it's like Fortnite-y thing. I don't know.
I think the important thing that people need to realize when it comes to 14 is that it has all of the things that an MMO has. So it's like when you're done with the story and whatnot, there's all these raids that you can go do. There's all these dungeons that you can go do. There's all this gear that you can grind, whether it is for glamour or for power or for whatever. But it also works very well if it's a game that you just want to play through the story and then be done with it. Like, you can do that. As a matter of fact, there's a not insignificant amount of people that do that, because to give you guys an idea, when Endwalker came out, we had queues of like 5,000 people on some servers at 20,000 people have queues. And then like, I don't know, friggin' 3 weeks later or something, like those queues have dwindled significantly because a lot of those people, they just go in there, they get their story, and they leave. And that's like the strategy that Yoshi P has, which is unlike because people have this negative connotation of MMOs. Why? Because MMOs do everything that they can to keep you playing. And Yoshi P has a completely different stance on that, which he has repeated in interviews and everything, where he's like, hey, listen, if you do all the content in the patch and you don't feel like grinding gear, this is a good thing, okay? We'll have more content for you. We'll have more content for you later. You can come back like in the next patch, or if you still don't feel that that's enough, you can come back like 2 patches from now, 3 patches from now, 4 patches from now, or in the next expansion. And that's what some people do. They'll play it just like in the expansion. And
once
then they
a year, right?
Yeah, not once a year. It's like it's every 2 years, a new expansion.
Once every 2 years.
Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah,
and that's a perfectly fine way of experiencing it, because the story is worth it. Like, when you say the story is worth it, now that you've played some of it,
it's insane. To me, I can't wrap my head around what MMO means, because it is like Monster Hunter, where it's a cooperative game. Like, I know there's some PvP modes or whatever, but it's not prevalent. Like the main gist of it is a cooperative game, right? You've got your whole story, which is single player pretty much, but it's single player, but you got everyone else around the world doing their single players and their multiplayer stuff. So you're constantly running into other people. You help each other. You say hi. You goof around, and
the way
you can ignore it if you want.
The way that it's been described to me, it's like it's a single player Final Fantasy game where the dungeons are multiplayer.
Yeah. And so when you go into a dungeon or a boss, that's when it becomes a multiplayer thing. And you don't have to become friends. You don't have to chat and voice chat with people.
There's a
and
duty finder.
People are not like the whole like aggressive idea of like pee bottles and like crazy raiders and calculators and
hey, that happens. That happens.
I know.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah.
Oh, it don't have for me. That's for damn.
Yeah,
sure.
but I'm just saying
like,
some people do that.
Yeah. So like the whole extreme like sort of subsection of like you can go hard on certain parts of this game. That's there, but that's not the base of the game. Like that's its own world. So like you don't have to go into that world. Like you're just playing with other people. Everyone's really nice. The community is just as good as everyone makes it out to be, and you just go into these. It feels like a theme park. Is how I think about it. When you go into it, when you get to a point in the story where you're playing solo, and then it's like, oh, you've unlocked a dungeon, and then you queue into it. It feels like I'm lining up for a theme park attraction, and it's like, okay, 4 people, you, and you get put into a seat with 3 other people, and you got your roles, and so everyone's got their specific thing that they're going to do, and you go through what feels like an attraction ride. Like I will say, the dungeons in Realm Reborn felt like a little just like, okay, they're dungeons, right? They're cool, but it's like, go room to room and figure out a puzzle or two, fight a bunch of bosses, have fun. Everyone says GG at the end, and then boom, disband. You're back in your world, and the story continues. Now they're becoming much more theatrical. They're really fun, to the point that I just want to redo them because they're fun. Like they're really fun. And it really does feel like a party with all these other people, and people are so cool. Like everyone dies, everyone's like laughing, like, okay, here's anybody want advice? Okay, here, we'll just do this. Okay, and
it's because
it's just fun.
It's like if you think of it in terms of like other MMOs that have been around for longer, what you usually get when somebody wipes in a dungeon is just like there's a sense of disdain where you're like, oh God, I got paired up with these noobs and now I have to like deal with it. And for some reason in 14, people just have a different vibe. They're like, hey, listen, here's where you failed. This is why, and try to avoid doing this and try doing this instead, and people go again. It's like
people are so nice. It's like I'm a little sprout. I got the new player icon on my thing, right? And I get in there and like these, I don't know if it's the astrologians or who it is, but they're like, okay, you're playing tank, Lily. Why don't you just go up and go behind the boss and have him face north and just keep him facing that way, and it'll make it very easy for us. I'm like, okay. And they'll sometimes use these little cards and they'll like highlight parts of the arena and be like, in the second half, move here. You'll be safe. I'm like, okay, cool, got it. And then I move and they're like, great job. Enjoy the rest of the game. I hope you have a wonderful evening or something. I'm just like, why are people so nice?
Yeah, it's just because one of the things about 14 is that people enjoy the story so much that they kind of want to share it with more people. And they want to try. I feel like a lot of the community wants to try and make sure that everybody has a nice experience through Realm Reborn in particular, because like, okay, if you get the heavens where like we got you. If you get the heavens where we don't have to worry about you anymore.
He's addicted. He's in. Ching. Yeah. Got him. Another one.
But it's just that sense that people like they have a very big emotional response to the story, and they just want as many people as possible to have that same emotional response, which is why in a way skipping is kind of like shunned a little bit in the community, where someone will skip the story because they do sell the skips, but it's just, I think people are just robbing themselves of content when they do that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, because the thing is the game has a system that I really wish Monster Hunter would copy, which is the sync system. So at any time, so like Ruri's level 90, whatever, he's like the max level. But if he wants to come join me on a level 10 dungeon, because that's where I am in the story, he can join me and he becomes level 10. It's all done behind the scenes. He doesn't have to do anything. He can wear his gear. He can do his thing. He's on the very high end of the level 10 spectrum because he's been leveled down and he's got crazy gear, but he still gets to have the core experience.
Gear,
I don't get it ruined. I don't get carried, so to say. It's crazy good.
The gear also gets a little bit leveled down, but it's like it would be the maximum gear that you could have for that particular instance, basically.
Yeah.
So
it's kind of nice. You can play with other. Imagine if you were like a high rank player and you want to go join a low rank hunt with a friend. You don't have to change your gear. Just go in there and like they have some smart way of syncing that they call it, and you sync, and all of a sudden now you're at the same level. You don't have to literally go into your inventory and say, okay, what's your attack? 200. Okay, I'll buy something that's really bad and I'll put it on, just so I don't carry you, because if you carry somebody, you kind of miss a lot of the fun sequences and the experience of it all. Yeah. So it's like they have this system and it's so good, and there's so many different little mechanics that we could talk about where like they encourage, and they have everybody in the community running the exact same content of everybody going through the game for the first time.
Yeah, it's
so there's like no shortage.
It's the duty roulettes basically. So they reward even veteran players with things that are relevant to them for doing older content, and then when they queue into these things, the game just goes like, okay, there's a certain amount of people queuing for this dungeon, so we're going to put you in together with them, and there you go. That's how you end up with a lot of people in Sastasha.
It's crazy. It's like a helper hunter system. It's a helper hunter system that's baked into the game. And if you go into a dungeon that you've already done, because you just like do one daily level 50 dungeon, okay, and that's like 10 minutes of fun, and you go in there and it says like, there's 2 people in this group who have never done this thing before. It's like, yeah, baby, because they give you more rewards. Yeah. Because you're helping to usher them through their experience, and everyone's so nice. So like they're really just, hey, have you seen this? Hey, let's go check this out. They're just really nice, and they want to share the experience. So I'm addicted, hardcore, addicted. I mean, 300 hours in a month. Come on, that's unhealthy.
Yeah,
it's very unhealthy.
That's the part where I'm concerned. Like, you, sir, need to slow your roll, because things are going to get even better when you get the Shadowbringers, and you're not going to want to stop when you get the Shadowbringers. You're going to start the story and you're like, what happens next? Oh my God, no, I can't stop now.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's like, I tweeted about this. I said, it's like finding a Netflix series that you really, really like, and you're like, whoa, this is good. And there's like 3 seasons, and you can just binge them all. Imagine you just found the best sitcom ever, and there's 100 seasons right there. It's like, oh my God. And I'll imagine if there's even sub-series that you don't even have to do, and you can watch them, and they're wonderful. It's like, there's so much things in these games that are optional that are just like, that's a full game's worth of content. That's amazing. That's optional, and I'm constantly blown away by that. It's just like, and the game's super clear on where to go, what to do next. Like, you don't get lost at all. So, like, my problem with open worlds is that I get lost, and I get...
You do, and you did get lost at the start.
At the very start.
Before you learned how to figure out the map and whatnot, because the map in 14, it's not easy. And understanding, like, what do you mean I have to click all of these crystals in this one town? Which is why the way that I would teach you, I would never teach you all of the things. Like, okay, today we're teaching you this, and then tomorrow we're teaching one mechanic at a time.
And every day I'm like, Ruri, I realized you could do this. He's like, yeah, I taught you that a month ago, dude.
Exactly. Even then, it's like, even taking it a couple of things at the time, it's still very, you have to but like learn things at a certain pace, because it's a game that's been established for like almost 10 years now. And it's just like, there's too many mechanics in it to just grasp.
You can't just say like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? It's an impossible question. Like, if you just want to progress in your story, just do your main story quests. Yeah. But if you want to talk about anything outside of it, it's like, there's like 1,000 things you can do that are all substantial. So it's like, I don't know, what do you want to do? You can't do, it's not like a mobile game where it's like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to get my login bonus, I'm going to do my 2 things, 2 that, 1 of that. No, you'd be spending 24 hours every day playing it. You would not be able to do anything.
Pretty much.
So, in a good way, it doesn't feel grindy. Like, they're not making you to do it. It's all real content that's fun.
That's one of the things, because like, particularly with me coming from like World of Warcraft, where basically World of Warcraft is one of those MMOs. I mean, it evolved into this MMO that it basically tries to keep you playing for as long as humanly possible with as many free-to-play trappings as possible in it, despite the fact that it's not a free-to-play game. And that burned me out because Blizzard was like, you need to do this activity, and then you need to do this one, and then this one, and this one, and this one. You have a very clear path towards progression, but it's a path that occupies like 20 hours of your time. Whereas going into 14 is like at any point that I want, I can just stop playing, take a break, and the game is not going to be like, oh man, you're missing out on so much because the way that they do things is like, let's say for instance, even if you play like the newest expansion, and then you stop immediately after you finish the story, and then like 2 patches later, you want to come in and you want to raid. All you got to do, get some gil, like do some activities, get some gil, and either buy gear that you can buy with tokens, or just straight up buy crafted gear, and you're ready to raid. In World of Warcraft, if you did that, you're looking at like an investment of a month before you can start raiding again, give or take.
Yeah, I mean, grinds are never bad when it's intentional. Like, oh, I want to grind for this.
Yeah.
I want to min-max it. But when the game is trying to force you to grind, oh God.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And the way they have the level up system is that you never are grinding to level up in this game. Just do the main story, and you're always going to be at a level that's fine. You don't have to go out and actually kill stuff for EXP. In fact, that's probably the worst way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's not very good. It's like if you
the
want
game
EXP,
is really well balanced through the years.
You can do like dungeons and fates and these other things if you really want to level up, like a side class or whatnot. But ultimately, it's like they give you the tools to level up without it being too much of a hassle. Usually, I just kind of like passively level up by doing roulettes whenever I feel like leveling up. But like recently, because I've been playing a lot of Rise, I just stopped leveling up characters because when I want to level up another character, I can just start doing the daily things again, but I don't have to. I can just do them whenever I want. That's the beauty of it. You're not forced to do anything. And that is kind of like a departure from what a lot of MMOs do, where they try to force you to do things, and that's the wrong way.
Yeah, and how many different jobs are there in the game right now?
I don't know by head. It's like 16 or something.
I mean, they're basically like weapons are in Monster Hunter. It's a whole, like you have new story. You've got new, job specific stories. You've got armor, which I want to see them do in Monster Hunter is these stories for each of the jobs or like each of the weapons. That idea is so good.
There's
like if you play like Gunlance, there's like the Gunlancer that you have a whole story that at milestones you get to do a special quest and you get to know the character. That would be awesome.
There's currently in the game 19 jobs plus Blue Mage, and I'm counting Blue Mage separately because Blue Mage is special. It's different. It's not like all the other regular jobs, but yeah.
What shocked me though, like most, was like as you're playing through the main story, if you accidentally die during like a story battle, they'll be like, okay, do you want to go back in and just put it on very easy for this one battle? Yeah. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, the game doesn't want you to stop playing. They want you to enjoy it.
When that first happened to me and it was on stream, everybody was laughing. I'm like, what the hell do you mean? I only died once. Stop. I don't want easy mode. I don't want no easy mode. What the hell? You're crazy.
But the free trial's still down, unfortunately. So I haven't done any content. Plus, it's been a month of me. Now you know why I haven't uploaded a video in a month, guys.
Yeah. See, guys, I got him so hard. He's not even making content anymore.
Well, it's the perfect time before Sunbreak comes, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm really basking in it, and I'm just going to let myself just stuff my face and have a good time. And the trial's not available, so I don't really want to talk about it too much on my channel until there's a trial where people can go check it out. But you can buy the game. So if you know that you already want to play it, you can actually buy and get in now, where they had to stop it because it's so successful that like the servers are getting overloaded and they couldn't expand them too much because of semiconductor shortages. Yeah. So it's like they're hurting by their own success.
They've actually just added a whole new data center on the 25th, the Oceania data center, which for, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, This game's got like a cash store and all of this. Yeah, that cash store is what's paying for the Oceania. I mean, Europe initially didn't have a dedicated data center, so if we wanted to play, we had to play either in Japan or in US. And through the cash store, they, because the budget for 14 didn't used to be very, ridiculous. It's actually impressive to me, the amount of stuff that they're able to do on a smaller budget. But now it's been told that since the ridiculous success of like Shadowbringers, and it's also like a perfect storm where World of Warcraft just completely fumbled and destroyed itself. And a lot of the players just left WoW and came to 14. Because of that, I think that Square has given them even more budget. And here's the interesting thing, right? So if you think about the story of 14 that you've seen so far, this was a story that was built to fix a game that was broken. Because this game, when it came out, version 1.0 is completely busted. It sucked. Yeah. It was terrible. And so, they brought in Yoshi P to fix this. And Yoshi P basically said, okay, this game sucks. Okay. And here's the interesting thing. You haven't seen the documentaries yet. At some point, you'll have to see those because there's a documentary.
I'm actually in the middle of part 1 because it's...
Oh, okay. You started watching No Clip?
I started watching part 1.
Yeah, so
I don't want to get to a point where it's going to be spoilery for me. But
it's not spoilery at all for where you are in the game. It's not, so you're good. You can watch all of them. But the whole thing about it was Yoshi P came in and he was just like, okay, so listen, here's the plan to fix this game. We can either patch this garbage ass thing that you guys have made and patch it into oblivion to make it somewhat playable and it's never going to be good, or you can let me grab this and try to make something better. And they're like, okay, go ahead and make something better. And then he was like, but at the same time, I also need to patch this buggy piece of crap you guys made so that
when I come back,
so that the players will want to join this other one. And his team was patching the game to do things like add auto attacks, which weren't in the game.
Oh man.
You couldn't play the game on a keyboard. So if you're playing it on PC, you had to use a controller.
Oh my God.
So he's like, wow. Okay, we're going to add in mouse and keyboard support. We're going to add in auto attacks and all of these basic quality of life things.
But that was just to buy time so he can destroy the game.
At the same time, I'm developing this other version. And then it's like he grabbed the story of one and he added the whole thing about Dalamud coming down, blowing up the planet, and essentially resetting everything so that he could do his own thing. He made that story made sense. So he fixed that, and then he started experimenting with new storytelling methods to tell the story that he wanted to tell. And it's like, if you think about it like that, right? And it still came out as good as it is. And now he's like, Endwalker finishes the story. Endwalker finishes this arc that players have been going through since 2013. And now he gets to do it from the ground up, a new story. Dude, I can't even imagine what that is going to be. That is going to be friggin' wild.
I saw something like he was doing like an interview coming up where he's talking about the next 10 years that he has planned out. I'm like, holy crap. So,
yeah, Yoshi P has said that this is like his life's work. That's it. This is his life's work.
It's so good. I mean, I will say this as someone who I come from a background of loving JRPGs and Final Fantasy. Like I loved all the Final Fantasies, and I played them through, 6 was my favorite 3 in the West, they called it. That was my favorite pretty much for all time. I've always loved that one the most. I loved 7, of course, but 6 is like, it's got the right amount of like tech, but fantasy elements still. It didn't go too techy, and too like near futuristic stuff. But once 10 was the last one that I really enjoyed. And even 10 was a little on borderline, but after 10, like, what was it? 11 was online, so I didn't play that at all. 12 felt so militaristic and different for me that I just didn't get into the characters or the setting at all. And 13, I hated. I beat it in one weekend, 85 hours I think I spent, and I immediately sold it off. I said, I'm done with this series. I hated it. Because the moment they transitioned from, pixels and 3D models to like fully voiced, high production value stuff, they couldn't do as many things because every one little piece took so much longer to make and it was so much more rich. So instead of having, 30 towns in a Final Fantasy, you had 5. Instead of having, like 800 small events, you had like 100. You know what I mean? Like, so they just drawn it out like a Japanese soap opera, and they just had long dialogue that was super, like, we're not going to show everything or let you do it. So we're going to show you the result, and then we're going to spend the rest of the game telling you how we got here. And I'm like, I hate that storytelling. And I don't like the dialogues. It's too cliche for me. So like I told myself, and then I tried 15. I didn't like it, even though I know a lot of people did. And I said, right. You know what? I think I've just moved past it. I think I've divorced it. And I told myself I'm just not into Final Fantasy anymore. Like modern Final Fantasy just doesn't tickle that itch like it used to,
Yeah.
Lost Odyssey did. That's why I love that game. Last Story was great on the Wii. Sakaguchi and his old school stuff. This is like old school Final Fantasy, but in a modern day. This is the best Final Fantasy I've ever played. And it feels so familiar. It's such a grand adventure. There's so many, like, they don't voice everything. They have a lot of voice, which I can't believe they have so much voice in there considering file sizes and stuff. But like, there's a lot of reading, but like, you're going places. There's a lot of events. There's a journey. There's adventure. And, they don't have to overcommit to making everything 1,000 time, triple, quadruple A. Like, it's crazy. The journey is huge. It reminds me of like the choose your own adventure books. Like, there's just so much going on, and oh my God, now we're doing this, now we're doing that, now we're doing. It's like Indiana Jones in the morning, Indiana Jones in the evening. It's like, Jesus.
You mentioned Sakaguchi, and it's funny because you're going at about the same pace as Sakaguchi, I feel like, which is almost like a week per expansion. It's like boom, boom, boom. Sakaguchi went through the whole game like that, dude. Zoom.
And he's addicted too.
Yeah.
Like hardcore. He's been tweeting about how his staff is like, like he's like spending all his day playing FF14. Yeah. And I saw he produced his own line of fashion.
I don't know.
Called Sakaguchi, like Gucci. And he has like, and so what he's doing is because he doesn't want people to resell it or whatever, but like he's having people go in and then he's hand delivering it to them. And like he's selling like really high end stuff, and he has his own fashion catalog now, and he's a Lala, and it's hilarious, and he's like super drip.
Yeah, both Sakaguchi and Yoshi P play Lalas in 14.
Yeah. So like I could go on forever, and I will go on forever talking about this all year probably and next year, but like I'm fully in. Like you. Yep. Said when you say we got him, like that's the understatement of the damn year. like I don't know, maybe I'm lucky that I have the benefit of having not played it for, because I have so much stuff to eat right now. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's like I'm going to a banquet and I've got 10 years worth of food on the table, and it's all hot still and fresh. And I'm like, oh my God, what do I eat? And you tell me you can have as much as you want whenever you want. I'm like, your only limit: work and sleep and parenthood.
Yeah,
no!
Pretty much. Yeah, that's how it goes. It's a struggle.
So if I'm gone for a while, guys, it's because Monster Hunters, they'll start in the spring. So this is the perfect time for me to keep bathing in the wonderful glory, which is the story of Final Fantasy XIV.
And there's also Elden Ring coming up on the 25th. So.
I'm delaying Elden Ring just so I can keep playing 14.
Yeah, you should.
It's that good. I just can't stop. I don't want to stop.
Yep.
This party's too good. so thank you for getting me into it. I'm going to be forever grateful.
Now I want you to remember this when I start selling you on Xenoblade.
No.
That's next.
No.
Xenoblade's next, gotcha. No, listen. I am inevitable.
Now, I do think there's something that you cannot transcend. And I think this is a human thing, which is if the aesthetic is off-putting, it's hard to enjoy something.
But you haven't played the one that I'm going to suggest you to play.
I don't know. Talk to me in a few years.
I'm gonna get you.
No.
Listen, so last year I got you to buy a Vita. Next time you're going to buy a Wii U.
No.
Yes, you are.
No.
Listen,
no.
you might want to consider buying it now before they get too expensive like the Vita.
Honestly, I have so much to do right now with Monster Hunter
you told
goodness,
me,
Final Fantasy, Elden Ring.
You told me the same thing when I told you about 14.
I'm not buying any game this year. I don't have the time.
Guys, go listen to like 4 or 5 podcasts ago. You'll hear the exact same thing.
Actually, you know what? You know what's kind of crazy? I feel like I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 for like a year now, or half a year. Yeah. And you're right. It was just a few podcasts ago that I still hadn't played it.
Yep.
Exactly. And now I've already tanked. I've already tanked 300 plus hours in it.
So it's like when I tell you Xenoblade's next, you better believe me. Xenoblade's next, Gaijin. Yes, it is.
Save me, guys. Save me. No, let me get through this in Elden Ring.
Yeah.
A few years.
I'll give you some time.
Otherwise, it's gonna be like I'll be like the non-present father, and you
I know.
blame Rurikhan.
That's why I'm saying I'm not saying right now. I'm just saying it's next. That's the next thing that I'm gonna get you, and it's gonna be Xenoblade.
I still got other Vita games to play. I got Tokiden 2 to play still.
The next thing we got to do is we got to bring Eric's in here and Socks in here, because Socks I already know is hooked because I got him hooked.
Wait, are they playing 14?
Socks played I don't know if he's been playing it recently because he's also been playing Rise on PC, so he might have taken a break. But Socks was at the end of Stormblood. He was where you are right now. Last time I checked in with him. Yeah. So the one thing that I haven't checked in on has been Eric's. I think Eric's has fallen off the wagon, and we need to get him back on the wagon.
That man's a workaholic. He works. He's like you. You guys are crazy. working like you're 18 or something. Like I don't know how you do it. So.
He's younger than me. At least he looks younger than me.
Yeah.
I expect him to be much younger.
I can grind one thing really hardcore, but that's about it. But yeah, I have an addictive personality, so I'll be careful. I know the warning signs are there, but hey, there's worse things to be addicted to than Final Fantasy 14. So
you're right. You're absolutely right. But anyways, guys, that is going to be it for today's episode of the podcast. A lot of you guys have been asking, Rurikhan, what about 14 and Gaijin? There you go. We might do some other series going over the individual like expansions and whatnot, but that's probably not a podcast thing because I want to keep the podcast centered around Monster Hunter and this whole channel centered around Monster Hunter and Souls, because otherwise Mama Susan comes down on me like a ton of bricks. Okay, Mama Susan doesn't like me playing other video games on this channel. It's how it works. We'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe.
And Final Fantasy 14 rocks.
Got him.